this is an FSR thing. We're only going to put this in here, and this is going to be the marquee thing. I can't think of anything.
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was something that NVIDIA did for DLSS early on when it was really pushing DLSS and FSR came around. But even that, I don't think is actually happening. I don't think either of these companies are trying to box out the other one in this particular space. I think they are happy to bring on as many games as possible and add them to a list. And that's where they see the value. Boxing out the other one probably doesn't bring them much value.
Well, and I actually appreciate when games have all of them. Like
that's the best case scenario.
Like Call of Duty has like, hey, do you want FSR 1 or FSR 2.1? You can have both. Like XESS, DLSS.
I love when my old games, older Hitman 3, just slowly added all of them over time, and I'm like, this is fantastic. This is great. I'm going to go with DLSS, but I'm glad that all of them are here.
Yeah. So I feel like that's more of the trend to be like, hey, you know what? You can have whatever flavor you want to run on your hardware. Hopefully. But I think that's the trend, at least.
Yeah, I mean, every deal is different, and Microsoft has got infinite money, and Bethesda's got enormous amounts of cachet. Like, it's pretty. I think it's probably safe to say they are not going to enter into an arrangement that they think is disadvantageous for their game.
Yep.
Like if they want to ship DLSS on day one, they're going to do it, right?
Well, I guess that's the other side of it too. Is why would NVIDIA not want to be in there? So NVIDIA was like, hey, you know what? We're not going to help them with DLSS. That maybe AMD blocked them out from that way. Like maybe why would NVIDIA not want to be in Starfield?
I think it comes down to Bethesda's like getting those calls from NVIDIA and just be like, guys, we are so busy. We have this. Have you seen how big this game is? Did you watch our gameplay reveal at E3? This thing is bigger than anything we've ever done before. We got a million other fish to fry. We just can't be worried about helping you market DLSS. I think it's that simple.
We do have a question from Brian Robinson. Why won't AMD come out and just say that? They gave us a shady response. I think they're referring to, I believe it was an article on video cards. I don't have it in front of me. Gordon has some more information about this. I'm going to leave him to kind of answer some of that stuff. But I know that it wasn't a come out and flat out respond to it. It wasn't a denial. I think you have a good point. We should, or I'm sorry, the original question, Racer Pros, we should definitely get an AMD representative on. We've had them on the show plenty of times before. Frank Azor, Robert, anybody wants to come on and chat about this stuff, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to, because I think this should get cleared up one way or the other. Just at least for transparency and understanding. I don't think it's anything that they're necessarily trying to be shady about.
Yeah,
but
I think AMD is going to be the situation where a spokesperson come out and speaking to this stuff is going to be like, yeah, I mean, we'll speak in vague terms because nothing is ever black and white for these companies, and they never want to speak in absolutes, and they can have. I mean, we're seeing the Xbox, the Activision FTC thing right now. Like all of these things they've said publicly being used against them, and now they have to speak on the record and under oath and speak against stuff they've said before. And it's like, yeah, they don't want to put themselves in that position. So vagaries are kind of the default terminology for these companies, I think.
Right. Well, okay, then. Hypothetical situation. What if we're wrong? What if AMD comes out and says, hey, you know what? Actually, yes, we did pay money to make this exclusive. The Starfield only features FSR. How mad should we get?
That sucks. That's not great. Honestly.
Yeah. I don't. I always view this back through the lens of like when Epic Games was paying to keep a lot of stuff off Steam. They still are, and people were getting very mad about that. And I was like, I'm not very mad, but I think it's the wrong strategy. You want to be like building things up. You want to be like providing new things instead of taking something that's about to come out and spending money to stop it from going everywhere. This feels like that, if that's what's happening here. This feels like a company using money to stop something good from happening for other people just to make your stuff look better. And most people, I think, can actually see through that. At least the people who are paying attention. And they're often the ones that set the trends and set the tone of the conversation. And that's a very big thing in PC hardware. you're going to get a lot of inflammatory YouTube the thumbnails about this stuff, and that, I think these companies are pretty savvy to that, which is why I don't think that's what's happening. But if it is, well, they're playing with fire. That they probably will get burned by that.
Yeah, I mean, if we were at parity or relative parity between these techniques, it would be one thing, but we're definitely not, right? Like, I don't think anybody's going to go out there and argue that FSR is up to the level of DLSS yet. So, like,
it's good enough in a lot of situations. It's not as good as DLSS.
Yeah,
right? I mean, and even with 3 and frame generation stuff, it's straight up lacking features that the competition has. So like in that situation, like, it's hard to accept some kind of forced exclusivity because there is a better option that could have been on the table that you have paid to exclude.
If
That's a big if they actually did that.
If that's the case, I think another thing somebody brought up was it gave me a thought. What if I'm just keep going down this hypothetical that they did pay for exclusivity, and the big thing they want to push, and the reason why they're not talking about it right now, is because FSR 3 or FSR 3.0 with frame generation will be Starfield's big push. So they say, hey, you know what? We did pay money to have Starfield be FSR exclusive because we want this to be the huge launching pad for FSR 3.0 with our version of frame gen, and that could be a reason why they don't talk about it right now.
Possible, yeah. I mean, that seems like putting a lot of pressure on your bleeding edge product launch of your brand new next generation tech, but
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's definitely been people like, hey, wait, we've been waiting on more details of FSR 3.0. They've talked about, actually, they came on the show here and talked about it to a certain degree. So it is something that they're working on. So
yeah. Do we have any idea of like the timeline on that? No.
I swear, as a part of the maelstrom of headlines around this whole thing, that I saw FSR 3 was not going to be ready in time for this, but I'm not.
Yeah, right. It feels like something they would have already been talking about if that was in a much realer way, if that was the case. So I don't know. I'm wondering what the future is of FSR. NVIDIA employs more software engineers than just about anybody else on the planet in a lot of ways. AMD is going to have a hard time catching up for that stuff. So the fact that AMD is kind of as close as it is, which again, it's DLSS is better, but the idea that AMD is as close as it is without having that amount of resources thrown at it is pretty surprising. I think NVIDIA will keep looking for ways to exploit its advantages that make that difference look very much bigger, and it's going to be hard for AMD to catch up, I think, even with the 3.0.
Yeah, that's another place where NVIDIA's hardware advantage also manifests. Like we were talking about earlier, like they just have got more hardware for this type of acceleration and have for the better part of a decade now.
Yeah, bespoke hardware. And,
the consoles don't have that machine learning stuff by any measure. So
until the Switch 2, which is going to be all tensor cores all the way down.
Wow. Breaking here on the podcast.
Please do not write headlines.
I guess the last part of it is, are people even caring about? I know there definitely was kerfluffle. I definitely saw people try to hop in their outrage pony and ride off. But we got a £5 super chat from friend of the show, Boria Zero. Thank you so much. Said, I hate fake frames and fake resolutions. Starfield brings me joy. Starfield and Fallout bring me joy. Sell good performance GPUs at a fair price rather than selling BS. I mean, there's other people in the chat who are like, hey, you know what? I don't use upscaling anyway, so
I can always respect somebody who takes the maximalist position.
Yeah,
I'm not quite there. Like, I'm definitely not there on resolution upscaling and reconstruction, but I don't know that I love frame generation, to be honest. The little bit that I've used it, like, there's a little bit. I have not tried it in more than a couple of games, but there is a little bit of a swimminess to some of the control.
Well, I mean, it's only in a couple of games. So.
Fair. I've mainly tried it in Cyberpunk's path tracing mode, and mouse movement just does not feel as precise. There's something a little slippery about it that I don't love. So I get it. I get a purist approach.
Yeah, I think for frame generation is going to be one where they'll dial that in over time. It'll get better, but I do not blame anyone for being suspicious of that. Anything that's introducing latency, that's something we're all very sensitive to. So, and I know it's not a lot of latency, but it's enough that it's you can at least get the placebo effect of it, and that's enough. And you want to avoid that. The image reconstruction stuff, that stuff is just kind of happening no matter what. Even if you don't have it on your GPU level, these games have a lot of that stuff built in. It's just not as good as what's happening when it's what's on the GPU level. So you might as well use it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I play a lot on handheld. That's like my gaming mostly is handheld based, and like whether it's the Ally or the Steam Deck, I'm always using, if I can, some sort of upscaling technology.
Yeah,
just to
absolutely.
get a little better performance or save a little bit more battery life. So,
and it'll definitely be a huge thing for those devices. I really do believe it'll be a big thing for the Switch follow up. I think they're, again, like Nvidia's got all these features. They are going to offer it up on a platter to Nintendo and say, well, you should use all of these for your next thing. So yeah, I expect that to be and also that serves Nvidia's end of getting more developers used to implementing this stuff. So then it just shows up on PC by default because they're already doing that work for any third-party game they're putting on Switch, which, that's not a one-to-one, but it's going to help them in their long-term goals.
Yeah, I was just staring at the Tegra Wikipedia page yesterday and looking at the previous models. I mean, they've been putting Tensor Cores in Tegras since 2019 or something. Yep. So it seems like a pretty safe bet there will be some form of that stuff on the next one.
Definitely.
Well, sorry, I don't want to go too far down that road.
Sorry.
But no. I've always thought, why not have some sort of built-in upscaling in the dock itself? Hey, when you're in portable mode, you play this way, and then when you plug it in, the upscaling happens in some sort of small processing in the dock itself to go on your 4K TV. Do you think that's something they could track?
I think it's something they don't want to. I think Nintendo thinks that would be complicated and cause more work for developers. And I think they want to make sure that their system is very easy to develop for. I think that's been a priority for a couple of generations now. But if NVIDIA can sell it to Nintendo in such a way that's like, no, this is very simple, this stuff just works, maybe they would buy into it.
I think the thing I would add to that is that the emotional or philosophical pitch to consumers of the Switch since day one has been, hey, your game's anywhere you go. Like, you come home, you play it on your TV, you pick it up, it's the same game, you walk out the door with it, it's the same game on an airplane or across the country. Anything they do to like very visibly segment that experience out where it's like, hey, it's way better at home than it is out there on a handheld. Like, if they can do it transparently, sure, but anything that makes people feel like, oh, I'm getting a lesser experience if I pick this up and walk away with it, I think is probably a no-go for them. Yeah,
and that's like very key for Pokemon specifically, a game that always a handheld game, and they haven't really figured out the HD generation stuff yet, but they are that game needs to sort of be the same thing on handheld as it is on the TV because it's such an important game for them. And so I think they would, if suddenly that game looked okay on home, but on portable, the way the Pokemon's meant to be played in a lot of the developers' minds, it's kind of crappy. That's going to be a real problem for them.
Yeah. I guess I've used a couple solutions where it's a little HDMI adapter that sits between the dock and the TV to try to. One of them was M Classic.
Yeah, yes, the M Classic. I have that. It's not bad.
Well, there was another one too. Oh man, I can't remember the name of it. That actually
is it from the same company?
No,
I can't remember.
I can't. But that one actually worked a little bit better. But I mean, it's still like, I mean, it's got just a little bit more anti-aliasing.
Yeah, Marseille.
That's the same company, but this was a different company.
This was a different company. Okay, all right. Okay,
I can't remember it.
Yes.
But and then on the other side of it too, I'm kind of a GPU pervert or eGPU pervert, and like and I mean, side note of how much it costs. Being able to plug an ROG Ally into the XG Mobile just feels like cheating. Because then I'm like, oh, okay, well, in Call of Duty, I was getting 90 frames a second. Now I'm getting 180 frames per second. And
Does it ship with support for that?
Yeah. Wow. So the port on the top is the proprietary port to plug the XG Mobile into, and it works with all three of them. I mean, I don't have my hands on the 4090 version, but I have the previous two ones, and like it's crazy. It feels like, wow, this could be, this feels like a Switch Pro. Like, hey, in handheld mode, man, I've got great power. I can play on my games. Oh, I want to plug it into the TV, plug it into the XG Mobile, go to the TV and get even more power. Like, it's nuts. Like the price is whatever. Like I know a lot of people are like, that doesn't make any sense, but like the dream, the idea of it
Yes, it doesn't make sense now, but there is a world in which maybe that's where the way most people are interacting with PC gaming, with their handheld that goes with them when they need it, and if they want to just play on the couch, it works just fine. But when it's time for that real gaming, you plug in this dock, and the dock is an eGPU. Like, I could totally see that being something that one of these companies actually cracks. It'll be difficult because it will be expensive for a while, but if someone can make it cost effective, I think it's something that could happen.
Yeah, and like I'm going to be honest here. I did have a hot second where I was like, oh man, because I have a gaming PC for my TV specifically, and I'm like, man, what if I don't even have that? What if I just have the XG mobile there and I just plug it in? And I was like, I was like, nah, it's still not as powerful enough. So I'll just continue it, but I have both anyway.
No substitute for a giant box sitting on the floor.
It's not that it's only 10 and a half liters, Brad. Very, very small box.
Yeah. I got the NCXT one that catches on fire or whatever.
Oh, the H1.
Yeah, right there.
Hey,
yeah.
There it is.
Yep, ready to go.
Did you replace the riser card or
I've got it sitting there ready to replace for about a year now. I haven't done it. So,
playing with fire, man.
It seemed fine. I think
big year for computers catching on fire.
Yeah, let's go. But now
everybody's in on it.
Yeah, now that I've seen Brad's plight, I'll go. His was not a computer, but I'll go ahead and fix that now. Make sure I'm safe over here.
Yeah, well, and AMD also had their emulating CPU thing 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's right. God, yeah, man, yes. Nonstop.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing I kind of want to talk about when it comes to PC gaming is a interesting little article. We actually had covered it on PC World, but Stadia is back.
What?
Google
somehow Stadia has returned.
Yeah, Stadia has risen from the dead. Who was it? Phil Harrison was over there he's back. I'm just kidding. No, he's not back.
Don't scare me like that.
Phil Harrison is back. No, and they have this thing. Oh man, I forgot the name of it already.
YouTube Playables.
Yes, YouTube Playables. Yes. So streaming, but essentially it's still streaming video games through a browser. Kind of like Stadia, but more on the YouTube platform. Real quick before we get into the details of this, Jeff, what are your thoughts on game streaming services? You got GeForce Now, you got, you had Stadia, Amazon Luna, the Xbox xCloud.
Yeah, xCloud. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the Gaikai before PS Now.
Yep. On Live.
On Live. I used On Live. I had an On Live Press account in the early days. That was pretty wild.
Did you ever get the little box?
I think they sent me the little box, but I never got
really
to see one of those. Used it. Yes, it was. I might have it back there somewhere,
collector's item.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think that cloud gaming is clearly something that is a value add. It's something that is useful in certain circumstances. It's something that during the pandemic, I was recommending to people, like I said earlier, hey, if a new PC is too expensive, use what you have, connect to GeForce Now, play games that way. It's completely viable. It's not something, it's never my first go-to. I usually never come out of the experience being like, that was flawless. It's usually good enough. I think Stadia was better than good enough in a lot of circumstances. But we have become so used to having the hardware under our TVs and under our monitors that and we see this with like Game Pass, and this is not necessarily just a cloud thing, but like even like changing the way that people purchase their games or acquire their games. Some people were like jumped on board, but it hasn't been like movies or music where it's like everyone's completely abandoning the old models right away. And no one's going to buy a game ever again. Just like no one's buying music or movies ever again. It's not like that. We have this so much momentum of playing games one way, and most of that stuff is going to stick around and not go anywhere. And so I think cloud gaming is going to have to make a case that's much stronger than the one it's making so far, which is it's just like what you're already doing. Well, I'm already doing that. So what else can it do? I think it was fine to have Stadia. I think the marketing, the way that they marketed it, the way that the business model worked was a complete clown show. They really didn't know what they were doing with that stuff. But I like the technology. I just don't have much use for it, and I think most people feel that way.
Yeah, Brad, is streaming games ever entered your lifestyle?
It would never be my first choice ever.
Do you know anyone who you would recommend it to?
Yes, but not yet. I guess I would say, like, conceptually yes, but practically we're not there yet. Like I apologize. I've been using this exact example for like 5 years now, and it still hasn't come to pass. But like my brother-in-law is an example of somebody who basically plays Grand Theft Auto and that's it. Like he is not a habitual video game player. He just loves those games, and has flat out told me, you know, like, yes, I'd always just buy the newest PlayStation just to play Grand Theft Auto, and that's it, you know. And he's like the perfect candidate for what if he could buy a streaming version of that game through an app on his television and just connect a controller he already has to it and play it that way and never have to buy another console again, right? But both in terms of business and I guess also tech is maybe not quite there yet, or you know, everybody's still figuring out like what's available on GeForce Now, like what can I get on xCloud, like how much do I need to pay for the 4090 version? Like I guess we're getting there on that stuff, but it still doesn't feel like we're at the point where I can tell him like, hey, don't buy a PS5. You can just play this streamed from some server now.
Yeah,
it is getting a lot better. On the tech end, it's getting way better though.
Yeah.
I am way less like, I find it way less like gross than I did 10 years ago when the idea was first proposed. As video codecs and like protocols for input get way better and lower latency and higher quality, like we're definitely going to get to a good enough point that I think we're not quite there yet, but like at some point it is going to be good enough, I think, for most stuff.
Yeah.
Except for, obviously, like fighting games and stuff like that, you're always going to want to play locally. But
well, I know for me, I found myself using it in two separate scenarios, but I still don't use it a ton. So one of them is GeForce Now. I like that it's like, oh, this is just your games, your Steam games, your Epic games, whatever. You log into those services, we serve up those games. The downside there is that like sometimes I'll check it and be like, oh, you know what? I want to play this game. Ah, crap, it's not on there. So that's
not supported.
Yeah.
And I think really like the whole idea of running software is it's somewhat a savvy person's entertainment medium. There's a lot, especially on PC. Like you're gonna have to come in there and kind of meet it on its own terms, and there's a lot of value to that. Like you get a lot out of it if you're willing to meet PC gaming where it's at. And a lot of that comes down to like mods, things like that people are like really like having control of, and that is not ever going to be the wider market. The wider market is who cloud is for. But right now, these companies do feel like they are trying to shift the existing market over to cloud. And we're like, wait, I've spent all this time learning how to do this stuff, learning how to play games the way that I want to, and loving that freedom. And I'm not willing to give that up. And I think that's where we're at with a lot of this.
Yeah. So the use case that I found for me is actually on handheld devices, and specifically Windows. Like the Steam one, I know you can get xCloud kind of in the Edge browser or whatever. Yeah. It wasn't until I got my first Windows-based one, which was AOK Zoe 8.1, and being able to use GeForce Now. The first game I played, a handful of hours, probably like 4 hours maybe, was what was that Russian BioShock one? It was like
Atomic Heart.
Yes, Atomic Heart. I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to play on this handheld that I'm running, but I want to see it. I want to play the bells and whistles. I actually played a number of hours on that, and the experience was great. I mean, luckily for me, I have fiber internet connection. I have a Wi-Fi 6E router. I've got the perfect scenario for that, but doing it on my handheld device, streaming it that way was like, oh, okay, that actually worked. The other use case for me was Xbox Game Pass. I had a problem where I had Yakuza 8. I had started Like a Dragon. I had started it on.
See the horizon, turn us to thousands. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feeling like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
responsible